How's it going, guys? Welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to SeaBed. I'm sorry I missed last week. A lot of crazy stuff happened. I was on vacation, literally was not even home. And I've been doing some pre-recording before to try and make sure I had videos coming out while I was out. But then when my wife had to go to the hospital and just everything else that was going on around the time, it just kind of became a mess. And I was unfortunately unable to keep up with that. So it just kind of slipped through the cracks. It was the only videos I couldn't get through on that darn trip, but oh well, we're back. So thank you for your patience, and also thank you. Some of you even asked about asked about it, saying like, "Are you everything okay? You don't normally miss a week." Yeah, no, we're back. Last time we were here, we flipped to Takako's point of view. And things are definitely different. It's really kind of making me ask some very fundamental questions about, like, what is really happening. Because Sachiko seems pretty, I don't know, it's definitely very down to earth. And in her memories, Takako was kind of like more bubbly and crazy, and Sachiko was kind of like the voice of reason. And, you know, that seemed, I got really used to that. But then when we went in Takako's memory, it kind of seemed a little different. Takako didn't seem as wacky. It was Sachiko that was, like, constantly getting away from her. And was a little bit more, like, she was kind of joking more and was more assertive as things went forward. I mean, she still wasn't, like, loud, but she was still, like, it was different. So I'm not sure what's happening. Is it just perspectives difference on memories, or are we looking at something a little more complex? We'll just have to figure it out, feel it out as we go, honestly. So let's keep going with this. So we also know here that this is supposed to be part of the time when Takako is in a hospital, long-term type hospital, like a recovery, not even something you would get for maybe a typical disease, which is interesting. So, like, someone mentioned this, and I've been thinking this too, but they kind of reinforce the idea. It's like, they talk about how this is a place where it's supposed to be a hospital where you're supposed to feel better. However, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people who are necessarily sick. I mean, is Takako, she doesn't seem like she's bedridden. The other girls that she's met don't seem like that. It's possible this isn't like a physical sickness, but possibly a mental one. Like, maybe a mental hospital. But, once again, they haven't really talked about that. They haven't seen any treatments or any kind, so I have no real clue what's going on. Anyway, enough blabbing, let's get to it. Noticing that it was growing dark, I stood up from my chair and flipped on the light switch. Sane, oh yeah, that's the other girl. That's the one who's quiet, really likes books. Filled our empty cups with a freshly made tea. You didn't run into any ghosts and such? I took a sip from the steaming hot tea as Sane asked that question. I don't believe in stuff like that. Honestly, if any place had them, it would be there. I mean, we're talking about the ruins of an old prison. You think so? Yeah, because they're talking about our trip to Alcatraz. Yes. Ah, now that you think about it, weren't there some famous ruins on that island too? Really? Sandra's expression clouded over as I directed my gaze beyond the window. I like ruins. It's pretty cool to know there used to be something magnificent right where you're standing. You feel like you're glimpsing something from the lives of people you've never met. Even if someone died there and you're seeing their ghosts? Is there even a place on Earth that hasn't seen death? I mean, I'm sure someone's died even in this very spot over the course of a million years. I bet they even waged a war or two around here. I think it'd be much harder to find a place with no potential spirits wandering around. I see your point, but don't ruins make you feel somewhat uncomfortable? Like you said, they make you imagine all sorts of things that were lost. I think it depends on your perspective. That doesn't scare me, at least. I suppose you're right. If anything, I'm more scared of not knowing. Isn't that just your usual curiosity at work? Maybe. I've traveled all over the world, after all. Traveling sounds like fun. Have you ever wanted to travel, Sane? Sana stopped her knot midway and cracked her head in thought. The twigs of a broad-leafed tree shivered beyond the window. The wind continued to howl. It almost felt like the scent of the sea drifted across the room. I think I'd be too scared to go to an unknown place. I'd probably want someone like you to accompany me. Yeah, I'd be too worried to let you go out all on your own. If you're okay with it, you wouldn't mind me tagging along? You're used to traveling, so I'd definitely feel safer with you around. Won't argue with that. I could take you all around the world. The broad smile I made caused Sanae's lips to curl up as well, albeit only slightly. But she soon returned to normal. I don't mean to intrude, but, why did you break up with that Sachiko person? No matter how hard I thought about it, I simply couldn't remember. Really interesting. It's okay if you don't want to talk about it. Sanae's voice brought me back to reality. Nah, I was just thinking. It's not like I didn't want to talk about it, it's just that I can't really remember. Oh, do you think it's part of your condition? Probably. Certain things were missing from my memories. Fascinating. Okay. So now, alright. So now, Sachiko and Takako have memory problems, but now it's going to kind of come down to who's the real, like, what is happening? Man, I'm so confused. And when I tried to think too much about them, I started losing my grasp on reality. In that state, despite being conscious, I wouldn't be able to see things right in front of me, and all sound would feel distant, barely audible even. Ooh, interesting. It's like they have polar opposites. Because Sachiko, whenever she gets caught up in her, like, blank spaces, she talks about how, like, sounds get super loud and overwhelming. And in Takako, she says that when she gets lost into her thoughts, the sound seems to dissipate, almost disappearing completely. Weird. It felt like walking through a long dark tunnel with no lights. With only the boundless darkness in front of me, I started losing track of whether I was moving ahead, standing in place, or actually going backwards. That sensation would only last for a few moments, though. It sounds similar to that of grandfather clock striking the hours, would suddenly make me realize I'd fallen awkwardly silent in the middle of a conversation. Oh, look at the time! Mayuka's gonna be here when we're making her rounds any minute now. Seems that way. I think I'll be going then. I don't want her to get angry at me for making you stay up all night. It's about time you went to sleep, right? It is, yes. Sanae picked up her books as she left on the bedside and returned to the shelf. Good night. I stood up and returned to the cane chair to its former position. Do you have any plans for tomorrow, Takako? Not sure. I'll go to the night duty room after this and ask Mayu about it. Do you have anything planned, Sanae? My library's open to the public on weekends, so I'll be there till noon. This has been on my mind ever since we first heard about it, but do people ever really come here? We have a few visitors from the outside, but there are a number of people that came looking for old books. Can't blame them. There's no older building on this entire island. Merely remembering the amount of dust I discovered on the shades made my throat hurt. We had a few guests from the Western Ward, too. Right! They don't have a library in that building, do they? That's right. I tried remembering how that place looked, but couldn't. Anyway, I'll drop by again sometime. Okay. Good night. Whoa, that's how they looked a lot more realistic. That's weird. Why would it look more realistic when the lights turned off? I left the room and Sanae laying down on the bed. Weird. I could see light seeping out through the window pane of the white wooden door. I turned the silver handle on the door and it opened with no resistance. As I removed my slippers and stepped into the tatami mat in the small living room, I heard a sound coming from the kitchen. Takako? Mayuko's voice reached me from the same place I'd heard the sound. Good evening. Good evening. You shouldn't barge into people's rooms without knocking. Ah, I'm sorry. The door was unlocked, so I thought you were expecting me. I try not to lock it in case of unexpected emergencies. I sat down in front of the table as Mayuko appeared in the kitchen and placed a cup of steaming hot tea in front of me. Thanks. You are welcome. Mayuko straightened her back and gave me a faint smile. Okay. Ah, that's right. She trotted back to the kitchen and returned with her red can. It made a popping sound as she opened it up. Using the lid as a coaster, she placed the can on the table. It was filled with cookies shaped like tubes, ribbons, and hearts. Okay. Their colors made me assume they were coffee and cocoa flavored, something that also seemed to contain chocolate and sugar. In any case, they were a sight for sore eyes. They look delicious. I'm truly grateful for your help with the lights today. Please have some. I don't mind if I do. I picked up a tube-shaped cookie and placed it in my mouth. There was something buttery and sweet inside it. The taste made me involuntarily smile. If this is the kind of stuff I'll get, I'll happily change those lights for you every day. I took a gulp of tea. I'll be sure to ask you again when help is needed. After I gulped down another star-shaped cookie with some tea, I heaved a relaxed sigh. I suddenly recalled my initial goal in coming here. Oh, that's right. Is there anything I have to do tomorrow? Yes. I would like to ask you to do some cleaning. Again? This is an awfully large building for so few people, so we need it cleaned periodically, lest we find ourselves overwhelmed. I call that a pain in the neck. Please don't say that. It's like my lawn. Good grief. We live in a place where the grass grows really prolifically. And it kind of gets away from you pretty fast. And it's hard because I have no problem mowing lawns. It's annoying, but I really don't have a problem with it. But the trouble becomes when you're having a family to watch, finding time to actually just get out and do it. Because it's not like it's a safe activity for me to do with little kids running around out there with me. But I also can't just lock them in the house while I'm doing chores. So I have to wait till my whole family's home. And when that happens, it's usually later in the evening. We don't have much time, and everyone's tired. So it's it's one of those things where I can't wait till my family gets a little older, so that I can just kind of do chores without having to get everything in line. It's funny how adulting things really catch up with you. I remember when I was younger, just the fact that I would have to mow the lawn for my parents was really, really annoying, and I hated every second of it and everything. But now it's I desperately want to mow the lawn, but I can't because I don't have anyone else to watch the kids while I do it. It's a mess. Oh well. Thankfully, I have a really good neighbor that helps out. I obviously I can't lean on him too much. I don't want him to feel like I have to just have his help all the time. But he's the kind of person who, when he sees me needing help, he just kind of shows up and takes care of it. We're very lucky to have neighbors like that. Anyway, what will you do? I'll be visiting the town. I almost jumped up. I'll be stuck here cleaning everyone's mess while you're out and about in the town? How's that fair? I'm not going there to have fun. Yesterday we harvested more vegetables than expected, so I'm visiting the town to try and barter for something more easily preservable. I'll help out with the cleaning if I make it back in time. Mayuko showed me her palm in a soothing gesture. Can't I go barter with them instead? I haven't driven a car in ages. I made a pretend gesture, acting like I was turning an invisible wheel. Sorry, I bumped something on my desk. I cannot allow a patient outside without supervision, but if we go together, there'll be no one handling the cleaning. Are you guys short on funding or something? I raised both my hands, trying to emphasize the importance of hiring a new cleaning lady. This is a sanatorium. Okay, what? I should know what that means. Sanatorium, okay. I know. Is that a mental institution? I'm pretty sure it is. Oh, what is a sanatorium? We try to keep our staff to a minimum. I've heard they have more people in the Northern Ward where they bred all those cows and chickens. I don't believe they're all that different from us. Mayuko's cool demeanor proved her to be impenetrable to my suggestions. Jeez, whatever. In that case, I'm gonna ask for that. It's been a while anyway. That? Sanatorium. Alright. I gotta look it up. Where's my phone? Okay, so sanatorium actually is just a name for a hospital for people with long-term illnesses. But it references older stuff, like tuberculosis or something, before we had antibiotics. So modern sanatoriums, probably not very common. Anyway, so she's gonna ask for that, whatever that is. After trying one of each types of cookie, I picked up an extra large one with beads of sugar on top. I put it in my mouth, closed the lid of the can, then moved it to the side of the table. Yes, that feels good. Here? You can do it harder. Is that a massage, I'm guessing? Like this? I collapsed my upper half on the table as Mayuko let go of my shoulders. Yep, it's a shoulders. It's like one of those things where it's like, Your shoulders weren't stiff at all, Takako. It's only normal to get a massage after some strenuous physical labor. I stood up and pulled out a futon from the closet. I moved the table aside, placed the futon on the floor, and lay down on it. Okay, so... Okay, try to do a bit more gently this time around. I'm not sure if I can keep up with you for much longer. Once again, this is like... Feels like a two-sided conversation we're listening in on here. Letting out a sigh, Mayuko sat down on my back. Ugh. How rude. Can you press here and here? I pointed out the rough location of the spots I want her to rub. I didn't get that at all. I'll let you know if you start massaging the wrong spot. Oh boy. This seems contrived. Mayuko exhaled yet another sigh and pressed the area between my shoulder bones. A little bit lower. A gust of wind rattled against the window. I could hear it whistling through the cracks. The shadows began to lighten, twist, and sway in the corner of the room I'd been staring at. I looked up to see the lights above were swinging on its cord. That's a pretty strong wind. It's probably some leftover sea breeze. We get strong winds near the end of the autumn. After a while, it calms down a bit, and we end up with weaker but ultimately cooler gusts. Sanae told me the same thing earlier today. The window frame rumbled again. You talked to Sanae? Yeah, we discussed the book she lent me. Then I told her about one of my trips. One of your trips? I'd love to hear about that myself. I don't feel like telling the whole thing all over again the same day. Maybe some other time. Mayuko gave my shoulders a light yet reassured knock of the fist. Ah, that's good. I see you've grown quite close to Sanae. There are a few people here. It's always better to have more friends than no. Yeah, that's thanks to that Sanae seems a lot more cheerful lately. Even her condition has improved. Really? We found her in the library, didn't we? She used to never voluntarily leave her room, regardless of the weather. And her facial expressions have grown richer. I'm pretty sure it's your influence. Well, if you keep talking to people, you'll eventually end up taking on their facial expressions too, I guess. Is that so? I mean, talking means conveying one's feelings, right? And to do that, gestures and expressions are sometimes even more important than the words themselves. Like, you know, body language and all that jazz. I suppose that makes sense. The wind seemed to have calmed down, making a room feel as though it was floating in a calm sea. By the way, did you know that the whites of human eyes serve to make eye contact easier? Actually true. She's probably going to go into it here, but there's a pretty good resolution that, like, because most animals you'll see, like the iris takes up the whole eye, and like they have to really like roll their eyes to see to be able to see the white part. But humans developed with a smaller iris, so we could see where we were looking when we talked to each other. because it's so important in communication. Maybe you've noticed that very few animals actually have them. In the animal kingdom, where survival of the fittest is the law of the land, having one's actions read from their appearance would be fatal. Meanwhile, all people need a single look to convey their thoughts. If that continues to evolve, I wonder if words and facial expressions will become outdated as well. If that happens, things will convey things that convey emotion, like books, music, and pictures, might vanish alongside them. Sounds like an awfully dull world, if you ask me. On the other hand, though, by understanding each other perfectly, we might be able to eliminate suffering. Religion and war might cease to exist. You could be right, but without books, Sanae would be out of a job. Oh, that would certainly be unfortunate. Miyuko seemed to have fallen deep in thought. Hey, your hand stopped moving. I want more massaging. More, I say. Miyuko gave me a patronizing okay, and decided to express my dissatisfaction in a childish manner. Excuse me. Nose. After enjoying the touch of her hands for a while, I suddenly thought of something. What is it? This is about what we discussed earlier, but doesn't Sanae communicate with anyone else? Well, for starters, there aren't many people for her to talk to. In the past, we had a bit more patience, but most of them left us right before your admission. I see. There are multiple reasons why one would leave a sanatorium. Some of them might not have been exactly cheerful. Ooh, that's actually a really good point. Oh, snap. But then I didn't really know everything about Sanae either. I started working here after she was already a patient. I started reading it in Takako's voice, but that wasn't right. Really? Yes. I'm not that different from you on that front. Well, if there's a difference, it's that I have access to the medical records. As Miyuko began to focus more on the conversation, her hand stopped. How bad is Sanae's amnesia anyway? Ah, interesting. I doubt I'm allowed to discuss that without explicit permission from the person concerned. So Sanae has amnesia. Takako might also have amnesia. Interesting. So, I'm trying to figure out if both sides of the story could still be real and or that there's deceptions in them, because it just feels too unwieldy to be all one story, but it's possible. Because what if Takako has amnesia too? Or a made-up story. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out a way. Is there a way that Sachiko could think that Takako had died, but Takako actually ended up in the sanatorium? I don't know. I just don't see that as possible. I mean, if Sachiko's story is all 100% true, then, other people knew that she had died, Takako had died, including, a medical professional. But here on this side, it seems like she's not. It's just so, convoluted. You shouldn't ask things like that so lightly. Miyuko suddenly added more strength into her grip and squeezed my shoulder. Ah, I thought I might be some help if I knew more. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with those groups where people share their problems with each other and it makes them feel better and stuff. I'm not saying it's bad to share information, it's just that if you want to know about it, you should probably ask her directly. You can't do that, can't you, Takako? We're getting along pretty well right now, so I probably won't. In that case, I don't see the problem. I could hear the sound of a swinging pendulum clock from somewhere. Speaking of which, have you already written your diary entry for today, Takako? I'd completely forgotten all about it until she brought it up. Not really. It's one of your duties as a patient. I feel like I could totally start without writing if I got the stiffness in my waist. If I got rid of the stiffness in my waist. See, now, hang on a second. This is not sounding like a normal massage to me. I kicked the futon with my feet a few times, making Miyuko exhale another sigh. My fingers are starting to hurt. Just a bit more. Just a bit, then. Miyuko shifted her position closer to my waist. Okay. What the heck? Oh, this stuff's so confusing. I dashed forward through the corridor with my arms pressing the cleaning rag against the floor. The wet trail I left on the floor was easily discernible due to its darker, more vivid color. Doesn't sound like an efficient way to clean, but what have you. With some more force added, I managed to make a single swipe take care of most of the dirt. The smell of wet wood flooded my nostrils. It made me remember the time I had to clean the floors back in school. I read somewhere that the memory area of the human brain is sensitive to smell. So freaking true. If you've ever had that experience where you smell like a familiar scent but you haven't smelled in a long time, it often comes with a burst of memories. I also think taste can do that. I think I've shared that story before, at least in another playthrough, but there was one time where I was drinking something and the flavor of it reminded me of the last time I'd had it. 'Cause I was drinking it when I was 18. And I took a taste, and the flavor, which was familiar to me, but I hadn't had since I was 6 years old, made all these really crazy, vivid childhood memories come rushing back into my head. It was really interesting. But I don't know, it was such an interesting experience, I don't think I could ever repeat it. It's so cool. The brain's weird, but it's awesome. I didn't know how many times I'd smelled the odor when I was still in school. Nor did I have any idea as to the amount of cleaning I did. I most likely had experience with classrooms, corridors, toilets, the teacher's room, the roof of the principal's office, and the local train station. Cleaning the teacher's room was punishment for something I did, but long story short, I had become quite the expert at handling wet rags. The thought made me smile as I continued to go back and forth along the old floor, enjoying the smell of the wet wood. Eventually, all my trails connected, leaving not a speck in the dirt of the corridor. The trail I made first had almost completely dried up. I used just the right amount of water, neither too little nor too much, and so the final resort was nothing short of perfection, if I said so myself. I don't know. I'm calling malarkey on that in my time of cleaning floors, where if you have the perfect amount of water in a rag, shortly after you start out, it will quickly start to dry out to the point of uselessness. There's no way you'd have enough water to make a full circuit around like a little room like a hallway like this, and not run out of water, or have it start so dripping wet that you had a puddle back where you first started. I call shenanigans. Whew! Sometimes I surprise even myself. With the second floor corridor done, I pulled out Mayuko's memo from my pocket. Let's see. I took out a pen from the same pocket, pressed the memo against the wall, and crossed out second floor corridor from the items listed on it. Next up would be... I spotted a window that could have still used some cleaning. The window frame was covered in dust. I imagined Miyuko brushing her fingers against the window sill, showing off the dust collection on it with an angry expression on her face. The actual Miyuko, after having breakfast and stuffing the back of her car with boxes of vegetables, left for town, promising to be back at noon. Might as well. I walked over to the bucket and the foot of the stairs. After all, I was the uncrowned champion of wet rags. That was nice. The somewhat chilly wind from the sea cooled off my body after it heated up from all that exercise. Leaning against the wooden frame of the window, I gazed up at the blue sky. Then I shifted my view towards the scenery of the port town. Then I inspected the entrance to our sanatorium. Then I spent a few moments gazing at the large tree next to the parking lot. Slacking off? The sheer abruptness of her voice nearly made me fall out the window. Oh, Sanae. I turned around and saw Sanae standing in front of me. She seemed to have returned to using the connected corridor. I kept the door behind her open to keep the air circulating. I almost fell out and broke my legs, you know. If that happened, I would have let you have my job. You mean taking care of the library? All you have to do is sit in place and read books. That doesn't sound too bad. Have you finished cleaning? I'm finished with this place at least. What about you? I'm almost 12 o'clock, so I'm on my way to have lunch. Wait, it's already noon? Sanae pulled the sleeve of her turtleneck and checked her wristwatch. It's going to be 12 in 15 minutes. If you haven't eaten yet, we could have lunch together. I wanted to grab something to eat, but after remembering the cleaning list, I changed my mind. Nah, I'm a bit behind as it is, and Miyako should be back soon enough. I want to clean at least one more room before she arrives. I see. We walked back to the stairs where I left my bucket, and I waved Sanae goodbye as she descended. Once she was gone, I picked up the bucket and the rag. Gotta hurry this up. I continued to the next room to clean. According to the list, it was the furthest room on the west side of the corridor. I placed the bucket on the ground and tried turning the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. Interesting. Huh? Rustle, rustle. Did she forget to unlock it? It didn't seem like the lock or the handle were rusted. All the rooms that weren't in use were usually locked, and Mayuko was the only one who had the keys. I let the knob go and stood in front of the door, not knowing what to do. Just go have lunch. When I turned around, deciding to follow Sanae to the dining room, I spotted the doorknob at the adjacent room. I stopped and returned to it. As I turned the knob, the door opened with a low creaking sound. Oh! I entered the room slightly disappointed. I parted the curtains on the opposite end of the room. The afternoon sun peeked into the room, outlining its contours. The room itself was of the same design, seemed to have been used to store old furniture. I could spot a big sofa, a chromatic vase, a wall clock, and a lamp, all ancient looking and covered in dust. Careful not to disturb anything too much, I swept my rag across the floor. The rag turned black from dirt, prompting me to chuck it in the bucket. After a bit of washing, though, I realized I ended up blackening the water as well. Jeez. I ran off the rag. My skin broke out in goosebumps as I pulled my hand out of the water. Even the temperature felt lower in this lonely room. The gust of air touched my wet hand, making me shiver. The dry, cold air stimulated my nostrils through the mask as I inhaled. I considered the door and the windows. I had both of them closed to prevent air circulation from disturbing all the dust in the room. Feeling an odd discrepancy about the atmosphere in the room, I tensed up. Yeah, I'm feeling it too. I slowly looked around at myself. The room hadn't changed. The old and discarded pieces of furniture remained still and silent around me. I checked the corners of the room, but I still couldn't shake off this feeling of odd discomfort. As I slowly moved my head up and down, I started to hear a sound. It sounded like a faint howling coming from the distance. I strained my ears, falling completely motionless. The mysterious sound reminded me of the soughing of the sea you could hear from seashells. It felt as though I came here from opposite sides of a long tunnel. I strained my ears again, hoping to maybe find a hole in the room somewhere. This time I heard a different sound. It was a weak rumbling noise from beyond the window. It was coming from the direction of the road, growing louder and louder until I heard the sound of tires running over the dirt of our parking lot. Opening the window, I peeked out and saw a car parked down below. After a few moments, the doors opened and Miyako stepped outside. What the heck? What is with that room? Whoa, what is with that? That looks different. Welcome back. Welcome back! Miyako looked up at me. Thanks. Aren't you a bit early? I might be. Could you come down and help me carry some of the bags? I thought you wanted me to clean your house. I brought presents. I closed the window and upon returning to the room, hung the rag on the edge of the bucket. Putting my cleaning duties on hold for the time being, I left the room. Interesting. What is happening? So that room, what is with that room? It honestly sounds very familiar to the description of the room that we had in the first tip. Sanae, I brought something cool for you. I entered Sanae's room and placed the wooden box atop the cabinet near the corner. As the waist-high glass window cabinet had nothing else on top of it, the box felt almost like it was meant to be placed there. What's that? A record player. Sanae was a bit overwhelmed at first, but once she heard my words, the corners of her lip turned up in anticipation. The front of the black wooden box had a drawer with a glass cover, as well as two square-shaped holes above it. The holes were plugged with what looked like coarse cloth. I unplugged and fixed them with a metal fitting, then sticking my hand behind the box, I found the cable and pulled it closer to myself. With the cable in hand, I moved to my usual seat and bent over. I moved the cane chair out of the way with my free hand. I think I should be around here. Just as expected, there was an electrical socket behind the cane chair. I plugged in the cable, still carrying my right hand into it. Are you sure I can have it? It looks expensive. I stood up from under the shadow of the chair, brushing dust off my hands. I found it abandoned in the storage room. I already had permission from Mayuko, and besides, I'm going to be listening to this as well, so you don't need to think too much about it. I picked up the brown paper bag I left at the cabinet earlier. I opened up its glass doors and began lining up the records I pulled from the paper bag. I found the records alongside it. And there's some extras I found in the library later. I'll leave everything to your room, okay? Sure. Sanae adjusted her glasses on her nose and gave the records a long, hard look from a distance. Well then, let's see if this thing still works. Is there anything you want to listen to, Sanae? I inspected the records on my fingers and finished lining them up. I don't know much about music, so I'm okay with whatever you pick, Takako. Okay then. In that case, let's... I scanned through the records and picked out the one with the picture of an old blue Pergio on it. Pergio, I think that's a type of car, like an English car. I took the record out of its case and placed it on the rotating turntable. I then raised the torn arm with my finger and slowly put it on the spinning record. After a brief noise, clear sound filled the room. That's a nice song. It seems to be working just fine. I picked up the Pergio record case. I don't think this is the right case, though. I wish Mayuko was more careful with these. Suddenly I let out a snicker as I began investigating the other cases. It might not have been her. I haven't seen Mayuko use a record player before, so it's entirely possible it was some other person. I just had a thought occur to me. So, Takako remembers Sachiko. And then they had like a breakup that she doesn't understand. We also learned that around the time Takako came in, that some patients left. Could have possibly died. Could there be an overlap there? Like, maybe Sachiko is delusional, and because we know she has very unstable memory. So what if Sachiko remembered being at the hospital, but then was released for some reason, and her memory couldn't really handle that transition, and so from her perspective, Takako died, and then she invented a story of how she hadn't died, but she had died. And then Takako possibly has a memory problem. Remembers spending all these times with Sachiko, but then Sachiko suddenly leaving, and she interpreted it as, oh, I must have broken up with her, but can't remember why or how. So perhaps everything just happened here in this hospital, which would be interesting. Ugh, I don't know. There were more people here before you came. Mayuko said the same thing. When you two put it like that, it sounds like almost my fault everyone left. Not at all. Everyone is free to come and go as they please. As they please, huh? Well, I suppose it's not entirely true. This sanatorium is open for people with special memory disorders. But it's not like it offers any kind of treatment. There's no clear treatment for what we have in any case. This is just a place for people who would find it problematic to survive on the outside because of their symptoms. As such, once that reason is no longer applicable, everyone leaves. That's all there is to it. For people who would find it problematic to survive on the outside. Yes. The specific details of our conditions don't really matter beyond that. She added the extra "at all" for emphasis. What about the whole reason no longer applicable part? What happened here exactly? For example, there was a person who couldn't do his job because of his fits. However, he eventually found a new occupation where he would work from home, which eliminated his reason for staying here. I see. You won't cause any problems in the fit if the fit happens at home with no one else around. And you should be okay as long as you have your diary and memos. You can make do with being locked up in this place. Without being locked up in this place. That's right. There were some people who discovered the frequency of their fits, and after some planning, managed to return to their normal lives. Now that I think about it, I haven't seen any of yours. When was the last time you had one? I realized I might have pried too deep, letting it awkward. But there was no change in Sane's expression. She simply asked if I was okay. You don't need to tell me if you don't want to. I don't really mind. Though in my case, it's been such a long time, I don't think I remember anymore. Oh! I thought she was having trouble when I wasn't looking, but she sounded like that wasn't the case. But then, how are you still planning how long are you still planning to be here? Suddenly I considered the room's ceiling. Good question. I suppose I don't have any significant reason to remain here. It's just that I've been here for so long that going outside sounds like too much of a hassle at this point. There was a reason I originally came, but after spending enough time here, I overcame it. After getting so used to this place, I could no longer find a good enough reason for leaving. You're only here because it's more convenient that way? Yes. After that, she fell completely silent. Well, I suppose this is a pretty relaxing place to be. There was little noise here, with no people around. Why are you here, Takako? Sanae addressed me as I was just about to change the subject. It's because of the darn ringing in my ears. I don't think it's anything serious, but everyone around me gets needlessly worked up, and before I knew it, I was here. Interesting, so that's a symptom that is shared with Takako and Sachiko. That's all. I see. Are you feeling better now? Yeah. It wasn't that bad to begin with. Sanae made a complicated expression of relief mixed with slight disappointment. So, you're planning to leave soon, Takako? Nah. I've got no concrete plans yet. I see. Miyuko doesn't want to let her precious workforce go. Sanae made a complicated face again, almost as though she didn't know what to say. A slightly unfitting background music was playing behind her. It made me feel somewhat gloomy. It was difficult to describe, much like her expression from before. Interesting. So, it kind of is more like a mental hospital, because they specialize, at least in this department, with people with severe mental issues. Well, the music got really weird. Alright, we're gonna read a little bit more before we end it. Because the music's really tripping me up right now. It's like, it's doing that thing where like, the music's so weird, but like, just slight things in it that are wrong really itch at you. I tried dropping the night duty room later that night, but Miyuko wasn't there. With the door locked and me unable to wait inside, I had no choice but to return to my own room and lay down on the bed. The cold sheets I pulled up robbed me of warmth. I stretched my legs as far as I could, ignoring the cold. After shifting to my back, I closed my eyes. It had been a while since I'd seen that weird pattern behind my eyelids. Oh, that didn't sound good. It was a nice flicker, like an old film reel, and there were letters spinning around in a spiral pattern. Upon closer inspection, I realized it was the alphabet. I wondered if it spelled out anything sensible words, but soon realized the letters would deform and change shape once I began focusing on them, so I stopped looking. Oh, that's interesting. That's not good. That's not good. All the conversation I had throughout the day raced through my mind. If only I had said this or that back then. Now that actually sounds familiar. Holy crap. Like, especially when I was younger, I would like sit and just contemplate all my things I'd said during the day and all the things I thought I did wrong and things I could have said if I had been bolder. As I began to ponder my conversation with Sanae, I suddenly realized that she never told me why she was originally sent here. I wonder what was wrong with her. Was it some kind of untreatable fits? She said that only people who couldn't live normally outside would be sent here. Then she got better after spending some time in the sanatorium. But she never left, realizing that life is more convenient in this place. Nowadays, she worked mornings in the library and spent the rest of the day reading either there or in her own room. For an extreme bookworm like Sanae, life at the sanatorium was perhaps more comfortable than the outside world. I wonder if that could be true. I thought this was a place for people seeking temporary solace from the hardships and fatigue of the real world. An environment completely isolated from the outside, where you'd relax and collect your thoughts for a while. Then once you'd rested up, you would think of a way to resolve your problems. However, no matter how hard I looked at Sanae, she didn't seem to be particularly ill. Was she more suited for life in a sanatorium to begin with? Or did she only become that way after coming here? I remember what she told me about the whites of human eyes evolved. How the whites of human eyes evolved. With them, you could indicate the direction of your gaze to your peers. In nature, it had the disadvantage of potentially revealing your escape route to or targets to others. However, in society, it had the benefit of helping communication. Sanae loved books and lived here completely immersed in them. However, being outside, she'd have to allocate some of that time to other things, and that was most likely a big drawback for her. In here, she could work at the library, which was obviously a huge bonus. I felt that something about this wasn't quite right. I agree. Everything doesn't feel right. This whole game doesn't feel right. I began to think, what's the problem outside the world could have driven her to come to this place? Yet my train of thought soon drifted towards comparing the outside world to the sanatorium, nature to society, and evolution itself. I decided to return to my initial point. Sanae faced a certain problem outside. As a result, she ended up at the sanatorium. Here at the sanatorium, her problem was solved. Well, they were talking about amnesia, though. Like, amnesia is not something that can readily just be solved. She might not even remember. She just might not remember why she was sent here. She even preferred to live here now. If I had to draw a parallel with evolution, she was like a fish who used to live in the sea, but due to some problem, either lack of food or too many predators, ended up evolving lungs to move to the surface. On the surface, there were plenty of food and few predators. As she spent her time on the surface, she developed arms and legs. Life there became even more convenient. I don't know. That's a bit of a stretch, because evolution takes millions and millions of years. I think a better analogy would be a fish in the ocean that gets rescued and dropped into a fish tank, where the fish tank provides all the food you could need without any predators. It's limited, and you're trapped, but it's safe. I still felt like something was off about this. In the scenario, the fish left the poor environment for a richer one. The sanatorium, however, was an environment both smaller and poorer than the outside world. It reminded me of whales and dolphins that, despite having spent some time on the surface, always returned to the sea. Sanae, unable to endure the rigorous competition that the otherwise plentiful and delicious food on the land required, decided to return to the calm sea. Sanae was like a fish. I imagined her sitting at the bottom of the sea, reading a book, and chuckled to myself, and the music is freaking me out. I wished I could tell her to come up and bask in the sun at least once in a while. I could imagine her making a troubled face at that comment. She was looking at me. I felt a strong sense of deja vu. Ugh. I suddenly heard a sound similar to what phonographs would make when they reached the end of the record. All my thoughts were swept away in an instant. That was a sign of an ear-ringing fit. I felt completely motionless, trying to avoid causing any rustling. I took a deep breath so as not to panic. I could hear the sound of the air. Listening in, I slowly confirmed that no sound seemed to be exaggerated. The ear-ringing didn't happen. Exhaling, I glanced at the clock at the side table. It was 1 a.m., roughly the time I thought it would be. This freaks me out, man. Closed my eyes again. I pulled the already warm sheets up to my shoulders. I fixed the position of the pillow to make sure my head was at the same height it would be when I was standing straight. After a while, I saw a weird pattern again. I felt like I could see Sanae in the front form of the fish swimming through the darkness. Sleep wouldn't come just yet. Ugh, gosh, this game freaks me out. Ugh. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but man, stuff with the brain and thinking things that are real, that aren't real, it just really messes with me. Okay, we're done for today. Good grief. That's all I can handle. It's really good, though. Like, I want to know what's happening, but oh my gosh, it's like... It's just hard, man. And, like, not knowing what's real is freaky. Like, just that sensation is freaky. And, I put myself into stories so much. And so I'm really trying to relate to the characters here, but the characters are mentally unstable. That terrifies me. Oh gosh. You might not know it, but like it genuinely is kind of troubling for me. It's just hard because of that. You know, I get too involved in stories. That's why I love visual novels, because I get so sucked into them. But with this one, it's freaky. But anyway, I doubt you wanted to hear all that. Just want to let you know that this is pretty awesome. Also, I've noticed something interesting. Sachiko's memories, if you noticed, they looked like they were real photos that were most of the time they looked like they were real photos that were blurred and made into like a watercolor thing. Takako doesn't seem to have that as much. It's more about CGI type of reconstruction things like this one. So like I think it's interesting they've chosen to have different styles for the characters. It's really cool, and it shows a lot of depth because I've played a lot of visual novels that are on the, like, we'll call them the cheaper side, and they typically have like the blurred like pictures that were just blurred in order to make it finished. Like, and for me, I've associated that with like a rushed or a very limited game where they didn't have like the talents to be able to draw different slides, so they just use pictures. But I'm wondering if here it's a style choice. Probably very similar to the fact that like they probably don't have tons of artists to draw everything. They can't afford that or whatever. But the fact that they have done a few different things and it looks like it's following a style pattern shows that there's a lot of love put into this game. Despite the fact that it probably had a budget, like a pretty small one too. So just keep that in mind. Like, while the budget may be a limiting factor, it doesn't stop you from making a good game and from being able to express yourself artistically in the type of medium. But anyway, thank you so much for being here today. If you have any thoughts about today's episode, without spoilers, obviously, let me know, because I'm losing my mind here. But thanks for your patience. I hope you, I don't know, enjoy my thoughts on this one. I don't think I got to have any rants on this one per se. I just expressing my emotions and how this is a tough story. I like it, but it's a tough story. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I hope you stick around for the next few episodes coming up. I also hope you check out my other stuff on my channel while you're waiting for me to come up with episodes. Goodness knows when I miss a week. I'm sure you had plenty of time. So thank you for everything you do. I love hearing from you guys. And until the next video you're watching me or whatever, see me in next. I'll see you there.